Hey world, how are you? How are things going? I'm just checking on my phone if we're live on LinkedIn to make sure that everyone who wanted to join today can join. And I see that we are, so that's great. Oh, guys, happy Thursday. I'm so happy to see you here today. It's one of my favorite topics that we gotta talk about today. An amazing CV, how to write one to ensure that you get an interview at the end of the day. If you want, there is a chance at the end of this webinar that I will be able to share with you the CV template that we have developed internally at Smartest, which I would say to 95, 97% ensures an interview. But before we get there, I will make you a professional in judging a CV based on my experience so that you can do it for yourself, for your family and friends. So yeah, I have put something little together for you in order to make you a professional in writing a CV. So let's get started. Yeah, thank you, Erzen, so much for making today possible because he's the one on the other side so that I can look pretty here and the visuals would be there for you. So yeah, let's get started. Yeah, myself as well and Smartest team, we have become big fans of ChatGPT. For me personally, it helps with my German skills. So every time I'm writing something in German, I ask ChatGPT if it's grammatically correct. Huge life-changing thing, saves so much time because before Erzen was taking some time in order to do that, but it's not about that today. It's about you and you creating an amazing CV that really stands out because CV is your first impression and we want to make it count because, yeah, we're not there to present ourselves personally, right? And if we could, I'm sure we would make the best version of ourselves. But in this format, we want, yeah, the paperwork or the virtual paperwork to speak for ourselves. So, yeah, I would say here's our little plan for this evening, how we will make that happen, because there's so much to talk about CVs. And I have been in recruitment now for over 9 years, and I haven't really counted the amount of CVs that I have screened, but I can say it's really like thousands. And I have been standing next to hiring managers and still am as of today and help to screen these CVs in order to sell my candidates for the jobs that they have applied. And sometimes when I receive a CV, I think to myself, hey, you presented yourself so well over the phone, I would hire you right now. But then I saw the CV and I thought to myself, like, really? Like, really? So here's the plan for today, a little insights of how I am judging my CVs. So this is recruitment, recruiter without a filter tonight. So first of all, content. So what needs to be in the CV, what we should include, what we shouldn't include. And then we will move on to design, how it should look, because we want to make it pretty, right? 90, 60, 90, right? And then at the end of the day, we will know how to analyze a CV. So some of you guys sent over your CVs, which I'm very thankful for, and we will go and do a live analysis of those CVs. And I'm sure that by then you will be professionals yourselves and we will be able to go and edit them together. So in case you have any questions tonight, please do write them in the chat. I'm following the LinkedIn chat this evening. Unfortunately, I cannot follow the YouTube chat, but I'm sure Erzen's going to help me there. And in case there is something, then he will just give a shout. But yeah, Maya, thanks for joining. A strong resume is the best start. Yes, that's for sure. So yeah, let's get going. Must haves. Let's start with that. Here, I want to say that I will be paying attention to CVs in Germany. And so that's why some of the things you might find if you're not really in Germany and not applying for jobs in Germany a bit weird. But that's the thing. There are cultural differences, and Germany has it this way. And I want to share you the experience how we have it in Germany. So must have number one, a header picture. I know in countries like the UK, the US, no one would ever dare to include a picture in their CV. However, in Germany, that's an unwritten rule that people are expecting your photo. And I do recall, like earlier in my recruitment career, that I was presenting a CV to the manager of mine at the time, and they said, no, this CV, I don't want to look into it. There is no picture, so it's not a full application, so to say, so let's not do that. So must have a CV. It should represent the environment, the industry that you're working in, the company that you're applying for. You can see on Instagram in their employment branding what kind of vibe they're sending. So try to make kind of a similar vibe in your photo. Let's say if it's a bank, it will be like more surreal. It will be a suit, tie, very nice and gentle. If it's more of a creative industry, it's going to be something more interesting, something with more color. So make sure it really suits the industry and the role that you're applying for. Second thing, contact information. If you're leaving a first impression, which is great, if you're leaving a good first impression, which is great, you really want the people to reach out to you, right? So feel free to leave your phone number with a country code for sure, your email address. Here in this case, we have our webpage or portfolio and your address as well, so that people know where you are located. Because hiring managers like to judge you by the location as well. So it is an important factor, I would say. Moving on to the must-have number two. If you speak about your work experience, and you should do it in the right manner. So you start anti-chronologically. So with the role that you are having right now, you want to mention the month and the year when you started, the time until when you worked there or you currently work, where it is, what's your title, and what company you're working for. And you should also include if it's a contract or a permanent role that you are having, because very often when I screen a CV and I see that some of the stages are 2 months, 3 months, I'm just thinking to myself, is it contract? Were they fired? Did they leave themselves? And you know what? If I receive a CV, I don't want to get any questions raised in my head. I want to get them all answered when I see the CV. So that's why I make sure you write what type of a contract it was, because yeah, it just sends a straight message, really. Also, when you are describing your responsibilities, make sure you do it in bullet points. Make sure you include budgets, you include numbers in terms of team, include company client names that you're working with, team sizes. Be as precise as you possibly can, because just stating, yeah, I have great time management skills, or I was dealing with Excel. Yeah, what did you do with Excel? Or in case you worked in a team, you would say, yeah, I worked in an international team. How big was the team? Were you leading the team? Where did your team members came from? So all these things can really make a difference to the person reading it. So that's why make sure you discuss it in a short and sweet manner, 3, 4 bullet points, but straight to the point, really. And at the end of the day, don't forget to mention tools, technologies, because myself as a recruiter, hiring manager tells me, Liene, I need someone with mobile device management skills, specifically with Microsoft Intune. And that's exactly what I'm looking for. So you want to be found by the tools and technologies that you are using. So make sure you include them as well, right? Moving on to the must-have number three, it's the education, the qualifications you are having. Here, I would suggest to start with mentioning the highest degree that you are having. You don't need to talk about your kindergarten. You don't need to talk about everything that has been and doesn't make any sense anymore, because the last degree that you had, the highest degree that you have, is where you are basing the knowledge on that you have today. So be specific what you studied, where, the university, the degree. If you want, you can include a note or the grade that you received. If you don't have to. And here in this section, I would also include relevant certification. Very important. Make sure you mention it here. Yeah, so these three big things: contact information and photo, work experience, and then education and certificates. These are the must things that should be in any CV, something that I am screening and screaming if it's not in there. So make sure you have them included. The fourth thing are languages. Here, start with your mother tongue. Mine is Latvian. I'm fluent in English, German, Russian, Turkish, learning. Let's start with the mother tongue and then mention afterwards um, the languages that you are able to have a conversation in. Because very often, the funniest things that I have seen in CVs is someone who writes under languages German, beginner, and the whole CV is in German, but in like language German, where I think to myself, I'm fluent in German myself, but I would never trust myself to write such a CV. So there is a little mismatch, and as a recruiter, I see this mismatch directly, and it leaves kind of a bit of an aftertaste and not the best first impression, I would say, because I have had situations where I call these people then, and they cannot say a word in German. Whereas I'm thinking to myself, and probably here that ChatGPT was helping them to write it in German, and it's not nice. So really, write and state only those languages that you are able to have a conversation in. So this is a very important point. I know we all studied French and some other languages in school and can say bonjour, omelette du fromage. It's nice, but we cannot get further with that, right? So yeah, languages as a must-have number 4. If we move on, then we have things that are nice to have in the CV. I do receive a lot of questions. Should I put hobbies in my CV? What do I do about driver's license, about visa status? As long as it's all relevant. So always keep that in mind. Hashtag relevant. If it's relevant, it goes in the CV. If it's not relevant, it's just taking a place, really. So very often I see in CVs this knowledge and skill type of thing. If it's just listed, like a list of technologies or a list of soft skills, like it doesn't say anything to me because I don't know how well you know these technologies. Are you advanced, just a beginner, read about it somewhere, you liked it and included? And the same thing with soft skills like time management, says nothing. Great planning skills, says nothing because I don't know the direct examples with that. So you can include if you want. I mean, when it comes to being, for example, a software developer or an IT support specialist, like in terms of IT technologies, yes, do that and show how well you know them. Profile summary. A lot of internationals like to write a little biography about themselves, worst case scenario in third person. I have to be honest, I don't read these things. I think it's just a self assessment and doesn't really say a word about how good you are actually in your job because it's not a reference from someone. So feel free to do it. I would say it's just taking a place, really. Social media accounts, I know a lot of people like to include their LinkedIn, which is great. It's a professional one. So make sure it's well filled out. And if it represents you, it's a well built personal brand, go for it. I know that some of social developers software developers have their portfolios on different kind of websites or the code that they write. Feel free to include those ones. Great, because that's a work that speaks for you. I mean, Instagram and Twitter, I don't know. You don't need to show your hobbies, right? So as long as it's relevant, here's the hashtag. Driver's license. If the work requires driver's license, put it in. I think it could be an important thing. When it comes to visa, yeah, cannot. So it really depends. If you're international, have a valid work permit, write it in. If not, if you are an EU citizen, uh, yeah, I would just not include anything. So yeah, these are nice to have, but not a must, really. Moving on to things that you don't have to include in your CV. Definitely a few things, and I see almost in every CV, if not every second one, that most of the people include these things. But the good news is you don't have to if you don't want to. It's your gender, it's your family status, married, unmarried, date of birth, nationality, and religion. So these are the things that you don't have to include, and you don't need to feel bad if you don't. So yeah, feel free to leave these things out. Yeah. What about a format here? I think I already mentioned it in the beginning. Start with the one that is current or the most recent, moving on to the oldest ones. Don't start with the oldest one, which I see very often, and then somewhere at the bottom of the CV, or I would find the latest entry. No, don't do that, because you want for the person, for a recruiter or HR manager, when they open your CV, they directly see what they want to see, the relevance, and don't hide it anywhere below. So, anti-chronological order. This question about length, everyone's asking me about it. I have seen very good one-pager CVs, resumes, and I have seen bad CVs in terms of not relevant 15 pages. So I would say the good manner and professional way of writing your CV would be in a length of 1 to 3 pages. Of course, if you're longer in your career, of course, you're more professional, you have more experience, you have much more to say, it will be a bit longer. But here, then moving on to the next point, you don't need to describe in detail the positions where you were 5 years ago and 10 years ago, because everything that you already know today is based on the things that you learned back then, right? So that's why 1 to 3 pages. Don't describe in detail the job roles that are older than 5 to 10 years. You can just mention them, but you don't need to go into tasks, duties, and tools that were the must things we discussed earlier. What language to write your CV in? The one you speak, for sure. No German CVs if you don't speak German. And on the other side, how to know which language to choose when you're sending a CV as an application. Let the job description be your guide. If the job description that you have found online is in German and you speak German, feel free to write it in German. If it's in English, feel free to write it in English, because that will mean that you are matching, it's more relevant. And always don't forget to send your CV in PDF format. No words, no photos, because the application tracking systems, ATS, they don't accept photos. So photo formats. Word doesn't look nice. PDF is always the best formatting because there's no red line under it or so. And if we speak about format itself, from the structure as well, please forget Europass CV. Like, really, just forget about it. I know there are some industries where they really request that kind of CV. Okay, then go for it. Don't take my advice, but if it's not stated anywhere in the job description, choose a modern one, really. And yeah, I think that leads us to the next part. We have the content. Now we want this content to look sexy, right? Everyone wants to look sexy. And the way how we can present ourselves sexy is by designing an amazing CV. So here are two examples of CVs. One is more of a, I would say, Wikipedia page because it's just a text, text, text. The other side is more of a sales page. You, colors representing your personality. So, yeah, totally different. Please write me in the comments which CV or which person, right or left, would you like to invite for a job interview? I'm quite sure you would all choose the one that on that side. I don't know which side you see, but the colorful one, right, guys? I think most of you would go with that one because it represents you, right? It has the color, it has the vibe, and the interesting thing here is that when I started in recruitment, I had to, when I was showing the CVs to the hiring manager, I really needed to print them out. So I had a big batch of printed out CVs standing on my desk on the left side. And the thing is, I'm very bad with names. Since I moved abroad, like I find it hard to remember people's names, but I have a great visual memory. And I'm quite sure like a lot of you have as well, right? So very often I was unable to tell which candidate I liked, but I knew how their CV looked like. So I could go through this big batch of CVs and find them because it was a nice formatting. It had a nice photo relevant to the industry, and the formatting was nice and appealing. So depending on the industry, of course, it can be that your CV might look like a Wikipedia. I mean, we talk about banks, we talk about lawyers, we talk about justice system. Yeah, there the color might not be the right way how to pop out. But generally speaking, today I think we all are more open and paying attention to design and a nice format can get you hired for sure. So yeah, pay attention to that. Yeah. Here, choose a nice professional and positive picture. I think we talked about it. Here, an important point. Very often, you see, if I look like this, I would be kind of looking outside of presentation, right? And if I would speak with you like this, it would be a bit weird. But if I would do it this way, I'm kind of looking at the presentation, kind of like reading and talking to you, it makes it completely different. So also make sure that when you take your photo, that it kind of looks inside of the format of the CV instead of looking outside, because that will look a bit of a kind of an outside, yeah, of the whole scope. So that is an important point. Be aware also of the color choices because different industries prefer different kind of colors. Something you can easily Google and then get more information about, and yeah, make sure that the font is matching, that it's not that you start in one font, then something goes further in a different one. It's just not gonna look like nice and clean. So for me, like really the nicest CVs have the most clean and structured formatting. There's nothing else about it. It can be also black and white as long as it's nicely formatted. The best, really the best. So make sure the content is there, the design is there, and if that all matches, the best. Tools for CVs, how to create one. We talked about Europass, Canva, So there are different kind of tools out there, really. So choose the one that is the easiest for you to work with. I'm a big fan of Canva, the good old one. Microsoft Word is offering different kind of templates as well in their newest versions. Zeti, so many out there, really. ChatGPT here is giving you 6 suggestions with websites where to find great CV templates. And as mentioned before, we have developed internally also a great format that ensures interviews. So if you would like to receive a template of the CV, feel free to reach out to me, to Erzin, to Maya, and we will send one over to you completely for free, of course. And then, yeah, now we are professionals. We know how to judge a CV. You know how I judge it. So let's put those judging glasses on and look through a couple of CVs. Unfortunately, we couldn't include all of them because that would just take a long time, and of course some things are repeating themselves, so it would just not be that exciting. But we will look at 3 CVs, different kind of formats, different kind of content, and yeah, I'll just analyze them very loud without any filters. so that you know how I do it on daily basis. And yeah, this will then be saved here for you on YouTube, on Twitter, on LinkedIn afterwards to come back and have a look at it. Because previously I received so many messages, and I still do, with people who ask me to review their CV, if it's good, if it's bad, do I have any suggestions? And I mean, if I would actually go and review each and every CV, that would take a lot of time. And I don't ask for any money for that. So here you have a format, a free CV reviewing, where you can always come back and go through it. So enjoy. The first CV that we will go through is this one. So here, I hope we can see it well. We did anonymize it. So there's a photo. Of course, I cannot judge the photo right now, so that's up to the person, but I like the format. So there are personal details on one side, the main information on the other side. But the synopsis written, it's in bullet points. It's in third person. We don't like third person. Like, as long as you're not a celebrity, not a Cristiano Ronaldo, whose account is being taken care of from someone else, don't write in third person. You're responsible for yourself, so you write, I'm an MBA professional with so and so many years of experience, currently looking for a job as a UX designer in Frankfurt. Something like this, it should be in a line. So I would take that top thing out because I wouldn't read that. If we go on to the work experience, I see the title, I see from when to when, I see the company, I see the place where it is. Here, for me, it's hard to see if it's a permanent role or if it's a contract. I would definitely write that here as well, because that would be easier for me to understand if the contract will be kind of going to an end at some time soon, or the permanent role. Here, this person has described the role with loads of bullet points, loads of very this, very that, managing, but I see some tools, but I don't see any numbers, any sizes, nothing really specific. So it's quite hard for me to tell what they do, because we always say that a recruiter or a hiring manager has a couple of seconds to actually screen over your CV. So here, I mean, in a couple of seconds, you cannot screen all. So there you look if the formatting is nice and if it's easy for you to read. But if I look into like really the content, it takes some time for me to read and to really understand what it's all about. If we move on to the second entry and third entry, they're the same. The thing that's missing is saying if it's a contract, if it's a permanent role, because some stages seem to be 2 years, 2 years, 1 year. So yeah, the question is a couple of months. What happened? You left yourself? You got fired? Was it a contract? If we pay attention to, I will go through the main thing in white before. Okay, I see what you were doing. Education. It's hard for me to say when you graduated because your professional experience starts at 2017. So the question is, did you graduate in 2017 as well or earlier? So it would be good to put some dates here as well. Certifications, good, a nice list, quite a lot on LinkedIn. So it sends me a message that you are self-teaching a lot of things. I like it. It's a great soft skill to have. I'm just thinking if you studied something related to electronics and telecommunication, I think the technical background should be quite strong. Yeah, and it looks like you have been here refreshing all the skills by different kind of courses. That's good. If we go from below to up, languages, I see that the A1 is in different fonts, so that's kind of sticking out. Okay, that might be a little mistake, but if you don't speak German, if you're still learning, I know you're applying for a job in Germany, so here, yeah, you wouldn't be able to have a conversation, but at least you're kind of showing that you are in the process of learning. So for international coming to Germany, I can see that being as a relevant thing, showing I am learning. Personal skills, for me personally, I see these as empty words. Like I said earlier, there are no there's no evidence saying that you are, what is there? Integrity, ethical, team builder. So you could include these things when you describe the tasks and duties that you're currently having, that you had before. That way, showcasing that you have a team skills, that you're ethical, integrity are things that speak for you. Then it would be matched with evidence and would be best, because then the actions speak louder than words. But here, I see those as empty words taking the place. Knowledge and skills, moving on. Here, different kind of platforms. Great. I just don't know in which ones you're an expert, which ones you have worked a little bit with. Very hard to say. You can include these ones in the role, in the duties when you describe. Great. Just like mentioned, under the duties section technologies, include all the ones that you are using or have used. Much better way of showcasing the tools and the technical technologies that you have used. Going upwards, visa status, okay. As someone who is applying for a job in Germany, not that bad. LinkedIn ID, email, good. When it comes to LinkedIn ID, I'm a pedant, or how do you say it in English? I like to pay attention to the URL, that it's personalized, and there's a way in LinkedIn how to personalize that. So if it's a personalized one, it's nice to include it here. If it's the long one with /0.500, I would rather not include it. Email address, phone number, we can contact you, address, great. Photo, nice. Wondering what's written under photo, most likely a CV or something like that. But yeah, this would be my take on this CV. See the comment section if you written something here, guys. No. All right. You're judging together with me. That's great. We are moving on to this totally different vibe, right? We see it. It's straightforward, clean structure, quite plain. Bam, 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 bam. Okay. Yeah. Nice. 2 pages. Short. But here, okay. Let's judge from the beginning. There is no photo, right? Depending on a country, interesting. Yeah, can include, cannot include. It states Latvia. I know in Latvia, country where I come from, you don't need to include a photo in your CV. It's not an unwritten rule or something. But yeah, so here this person decided to not include it. It's fine. I assume on top there is first name, last name, and then Latvia. I assume it's address and email address. I hope those are the things that you have included. Started with a work experience. Very good. I see the date when you started, that you're working there now. Job title is there. The company name is there. Country is there. Or I think it's a company name. It's a company name. Okay, but it's understandable where that is. The way how you describe your duties here is a text. Hard to read, hard to digest. I would really suggest 3 to 4 bullet points, and I would include technologies below. The same I would do with all the experience that you have, work experience. Also, including here the country where it is. But I mean, here we see that it's Latvian Academy of Music, University of Latvia. So it kind of says for itself where it is. But Ergo Insurance, for example, might be somewhere else. So it would be good to enhance it here with the place where it is. Also, what's missing? Permanent contract. So here I can see that the person has been in a few places just a few months. So I would be asking myself, why? Was it contract? Was it a permanent role? Did you leave? Did you get fired? Worth including. Yeah. Here also you can see, or for yourself to look what is relevant when we speak about experience, because Some things might be relevant for the role that we apply, some things less relevant. So we can also choose what we include, what we don't include. Because in my CV personally, you would not find the roles where I was, but I left after a month or so because I disliked it, or like some short stages, I would say. I don't want to talk about it. I didn't like it. I want to forget it. I don't want to be asked about it on day-to-day basis or in the times where I apply. Moving on to education, time from when to when, a degree, what kind of degree, what school it was. Good. Yeah, if you want, you can include a grade or what was your major. If you don't want to do that, don't do it. Here it's there. I see the latest training is there kind of at the next stage. You can also include the training directly under it as the latest training section, or you can just leave it under education, because I mean, we are today, we are learning, we continue our self-learning path. So yeah, we don't need to think of education just as something formal we have done and have a like a diploma in and we have spent multiple years there. Not at all. Yeah, and other skills. I hate this word other. So, what kind of other? I mean, I have so many other skills, but which ones to include then in the CV? Here I see then below languages. I would take it out and write languages, this and this, mother tongue, this and this, fluent. That would be a much nicer way of putting these other skills out there, more representative, more representable. And then I see a bunch of technologies and tools. Um, Feel free to include these ones in the job experience under each and every role, which tools you are using. That way, they make more sense, more relatable, and yeah, then this other skills section is out of our way. Yeah, I like it. Nice, clean CV. I see some color popping out as well. Must be this person's favorite color. Green is my favorite color too. So, as a recruiter, that's a little thing that I would be able to relate, that I would like. All right, we judged this one. We move on to the third one, right? Last but not least. All right, here we have CV, which looks like a copy of a Europass CV, which I'm not a big fan of. But okay, maybe they just got inspired by this. So first name, last name, here's nationality, date of birth, gender. Okay, can leave in, can take out what you want. Phone number, great. Email address, place where you are. Okay, nothing to tell here. I assume on the left side there is a photo. Great. About me. No, yeah, I think we already talked about it. It's kind of a self-reflection, self-definition. Nice, but not saying that much. So here I would take it out in that way, making the CV a bit shorter. Moving on to work experience, we have job title, we have a company name, we have from when to when, city, country, good. What's missing is what kind of role it is, firm, contract role. And here, dear God, look at this description of tasks and duties. I would not have time to read that because I always go by the principle. The first three are just like in to-do list, must do things, things you have to do, things you do the most on day-to-day basis. The rest is most likely something you are doing from time to time when someone else is away or so. So shorten this, 100%. Shorten, make it louder and clearer, take some things out. If we speak about content and you don't know how to shorten this one, take the job description, the job that you want to apply for, see how they formulate the duties that you would have, and adjust them based on the description you have made here. But this needs to be cut, definitely. And then, yeah, the tools, technologies taken out as a separate little one. The same applies for The next one, also still quite long. The last one is also still quite long. Something's wrong with the formatting, really sticking out. Then I see a degree. Yeah, a university. But what kind of degree? What? Bachelor of Science? What kind of science? What science did you study? Okay. Here's and says something is there. Okay. You studied Bachelor of Science in something. All right. The address of the school. Okay. Not relevant. Take it out. You have the name of the university. You can write where the university is, but like University of this ABC. Okay. And the address, I would take it out. Under education and training, here it's a nice like a header explaining it's education and training. That was the way how they chose to put it out there. Microsoft training, when they did it. Yeah, often the certificates have expiration date. You can include that if you want. And then the language skills. Mother tongue. Here, this formatting, listening, reading, writing. Just choose one. Like you don't need to make all of them or write all of them. They take a lot of place, and yeah, if English looks like your overall English is C2, take that one. Take the average one. Your German A1, beginner. If you're moving to Germany, okay. If you want, you can enhance it with the courses that you're taking to showcase that you're actually currently learning the language. Very often people don't learn the language, but they think if they put A1, it will send a signal that they are actually learning the language. So you can enhance it with the courses that you are taking. And digital skills, better to include them below the tasks and duties in a small section called tools and technologies. Will way better describe the tasks and duties that you were having. So that's more relevant than taking them out here. But other than that, yeah, that would be how I would judge this scene. Anything else you guys would add? Because you learned so much today. Okay, here I see there are also days. So there's no need to write like the 1st of May or the 2nd of May. Like days don't matter here. It's all about the month. What I don't like is when people just mention year, because then it's hard to say, did you spend 1 month of this year or multiple months of this year in this position? So rather work with the format month and year. That will be much more convenient. All right, guys. 3 CVs. How did you feel? How was it to be in the seat of a recruiter on day-to-day basis? I'm sure it was quite a lot of fun. So, yeah, it's great that you joined me today. I'm very happy that we took this class together and I was able to share some of my insights with you. That is nice. I see there is a comment. What is the correct best way to show a long leave, 3 years due to maternity leave, plus 1.5 years at home before kindergarten? I think LinkedIn now has a nice way of putting it in the work experience. You can write parental leave and then include the time. You can write time out or you can choose the time out. So that's exactly how you can include it in the CV because, as I said, CV should answer all the questions for me as a recruiter instead of raising a questions while I'm reading your CV. So be open about the life that you had, the stages that you were having, because I mean, we all are people and having a family and taking time for your family is absolutely fine. I know a lot of people also take care of their parents, of their elderlies, so it's definitely something to include, be open about it, and it makes you more human. So just that's how I would deal with that. So thank you for your comment. That was one that was on YouTube. The cool thing is that this whole thing got recorded if nothing went wrong, and you will be able to come back here and always look through these things. So this is kind of like your little note place, and feel free to use it anytime you want it. I'm sure I will come up with different kind of topics in the closest future, depending on what you guys drop at me in the form of a message, what kind of help you want, you need. Other than that, feel free to reach out anytime in case you need any help. And yeah, we can make these formats together. But yeah, stay tuned. Next time I go live, my team goes live is next week, Thursday. The bi-weekly Three Smartest in One Room will be back to see you. We will look back on our LinkedIn posts, social media posts of previous weeks. And there you will also be able to get some more insights about why we write stuff that we write, what we like, what we dislike. So the recruiter things, right? Thanks for joining. Have a good evening and have a lot of interviews. Bye bye.